Well, I think there's a couple of things to say to that. First, increasingly, that's unlikely, given how many states have taken the very prudent decision, I should say, to find out what has caused this accident. So the chances of that happening are low. Secondly, this is a new aeroplane type. So in the scheme of things, there aren't all that many aircraft in the world at this stage. So I'd imagine that the chances are low. If in fact they discover they are in this aeroplane, the fact remains that it has had several hundreds of thousands of operations already, or certainly tens of thousands of operations already, perfectly safely. So the one thing this industry does with exceptional quality is we are very, very focused on safety. We are very, very focused on making sure that we know what's going on. All of these decisions to ground the aircraft at the moment are not decisions on the safety of this aircraft. They're decisions on how we work out how safe this aircraft is and what the issues are.
But it almost doesn't matter how the decision is arrived at. The fact that countries around the world are grounding this particular plane and yet the US is continuing to fly, it certainly raises questions. Why do you think the US is refusing to ground, or so far has not suspended these flights?
Well, I think you've got to understand that it's the US that originally certified this aeroplane, and most other states simply uplift the US decision. So it's the US that's in a position to actually work out what's going on. And I think it's completely appropriate that other states simply wait until that is discovered and then make a decision after that. So the fact that the US hasn't grounded it doesn't bother me hugely.
I mean, it is also the US, Boeing is a US company. It is the US's aerospace giant. It's also Southwest Airlines, a US airline, has the largest fleet of these 737 MAX planes. It's got 34 of them. The next is Air Canada with 24. So 34 is quite a lot of planes. Could that be playing into their decision?
That's impossible to tell. Southwest has 34. Southwest has a fleet of over 500 aeroplanes. So let's keep this in context. The FAA is the organisation that certified it. The FAA is the organisation which I know is working around the clock now to work out what has happened. The other issue, of course, in all of this is we simply don't yet know. We haven't downloaded the black box data. It may be a coincidence. It's just impossible at this stage to say. The prudent thing to do is to go cautiously, which is what a number of states, including EASA or the Europeans through EASA, have done. But we don't yet know. It is too early to tell. But I come back to my original point, which is that the thing we do in aviation is we worry about safety above and beyond all else. And so it's a completely appropriate step and action that's been taken.
Now, Sunday's crash, the Ethiopian Airlines crash, may, and as you say, we do not know yet, may have had something to do with this automated system that's been talked about a lot that's meant to stop the plane stalling. How safe, if we look more generally, how safe has autopilot become? Is it still safer than relying on human control?
This is one of the great philosophical questions, and it's not just an issue for aviation, of course. It's an issue of what do we do with increasingly automated cars and everything else. The issue, I think, is less how safe they are and more what do we do about the interface between the machine and the human, and when are we at a place where the human takes over again from the machine at critical moments. And that's an issue that is vexing a lot of people around the world at the moment, is try to work this stuff out. It's a good question. I'm afraid that we're not yet sure what the answer is. We've been using autopilots in aviation for a very long time. The issue is a more general question about how do we react to increasing autonomy.